Good Monday morning, everyone. Texas 31, Wyoming 10. It's a 3-touchdown victory. Texas is now up to number 3 in the AP poll, number 6 in the coaches poll. I don't know what's up with that. Hey, I'm Travis Gailey. I'm joined by Orangebloods own Aaron Little and Nash from at Nash Talks Texas on social media. Guys, quick, just knee-jerk, quick reaction. Are you happy with the win? Are you happy to win, but disappointed in the play? What's your gut instinct, knee jerk reaction tell you, Aaron?
I mean, my gut knee-jerk reaction was like, all right, Saturday could have been a little better between Texas not looking great and then Alabama not looking great. Like, I was definitely questioning some things, but at the end of the day, like, it was a 3-touchdown win. But I mean, yeah, we had our list of like things that we wanted to see from Texas going into the game, and I mean, they didn't exactly check all the boxes. But I mean, overall, I'm not panicking over here too much.
Oh, they checked a lot of boxes in the fourth quarter, but the first three quarters, not quite what we thought the game was going to play out. Nash, knee-jerk reaction.
I mean, there's areas that need to improve. I mean, like, you can't how we won. I'm not going to complain about a win, but we're not going to be able. If we try and win games like this, we're going to find some losses later on in the season.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I agree with both of you guys. The Specs chat line is up and running. Alan Frug with the first in already, hey, hopefully the next game we can start and finish strong. That kind of tells you, I think, the mood of the fan base. Benny Rogers checking in. Good morning. We hope you have a great week too, Benny. Brandon Wyckoff in the Specs chat line. Hopefully the next game fans can appreciate a win instead of treating it like loss. Yeah. I think it's understandable that fans would be frustrated. I do. Yeah, I mean, we'll get to it later. The big question for me coming today, and we'll hit this later. The big question is, though, does Texas pass the eyeball test as a college football playoff team? I don't know yet. I don't know the answer to that. Look, people love Nash, Paige Grigsley coming in with the just Nash. I don't know what
it's easy. It's an easy name to yell.
Do what?
It's an easy name to yell.
Yeah, it is. I love it anyway. Yeah, the Alabama near loss against South Florida of all teams does take a little bit of the shine off, but Jerry the Targaryen Steamboat thinks it was self-sabotage. Maybe a little bit. I mean, we can react to Alabama later, but we were texting this weekend, and Nash was like, if they had played Milroe, they would have killed USF. I
mean, if you had watched the game, yeah, there's no shot that they would have ever.
Oh yeah, I watched it. I don't know that I agree with it though. I mean that their offensive line was just dog poop. So, I mean, at least Milroe can run the ball. The other two can't. So jump in the Specs chat line if you've got questions. We may get to them. We'll just depending on how the show goes. If you do a super chat, I guarantee we'll get to it. Leave your comments in there. We love the interaction, though. So join us on the Specs chat line. We're happy to have you. So, yeah, guys, 31-10. It was not – look, like I just said, the fourth quarter – played out kind of exactly how we wanted, how we were expecting, what we were thinking. The first three quarters were a struggle. It was 10-10 going into the fourth quarter. Quinn Ewers was only 11 of 21 for 131 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, there was no real deep ball. There was the only long play of the game in the passing game was Xavier Worthy's 44-yard catch and run, which, by the way, we did talk about. Texas receivers are much better athletes than Wyoming, so we expected an explosive play or two. I thought there'd be more than that, frankly. But is it an overreaction to be a little concerned? We have 3 games in the books. We're a quarter of the way through the season. We have Rice, which was underwhelming. We have Wyoming, which was underwhelming, both at home. And the one star of the show was Alabama on the road beating Bama, and that you can't take anything away from that. That hadn't happened, once in the last 52 games prior to Texas. Is it overreacting to be concerned about this team, Nash?
I mean, I think there's things that need to be fixed, but to be really like deeply concerned, yeah, I think it's an overreaction.
All right, Aaron.
Yeah, I think there's just still some consistency issues that we were questioning coming into the game, because of how great the offensive line was against Alabama, and then how great the passing game was against Alabama. We Tech fans were very excited about both of those areas going into this game for good reason. So it was like we want to see that be validated against Wyoming, and then through 3 quarters, I thought the line of scrimmage was pretty even. It was good to see Texas kind of dominate the line of scrimmage on both sides in the fourth quarter. That says a lot about how the team is finishing games and the conditioning and the depth and everything like that. As far as the passing game goes, that was a little concerning. I mean, Wyoming was definitely trying their best to take away the deep ball. They were playing pretty conservatively, knowing they have a good run defense. I thought Wyoming was pretty good. I mean, they're a pretty solid, well-rounded, well-coached football team was one of my main takeaways. But yeah, I mean, it seems like the offense is going to be a little inconsistent as the year goes on, and that's just something the Texas fans are going to have to figure out how to deal with, and the team is going to have to figure out how to deal with. But the defense is still very, very good. So even if it is a Sark team, and all the real high-profile guys are Quinn and the receivers, this is probably still going to be a defensive-led football team at the end of the day. That's my main thought.
Yeah, so the defense, they gave up the one big play early in the game when Anthony Hill kind of got suckered inside, and the Harrison Whaley, their running back, busted it out for a 62-yard touchdown run, which, look, you take away the 62, he had 110 on the game, you take away that 62-yard run, the defense played a great game. I mean, they only gave up a field goal the rest of the way. That was what you want to see, especially against a Wyoming team playing its backup quarterback. I mean, they're not even full strength. They're playing a backup quarterback, but the defense did what they needed to do. And we talked about during the season, early in the season, and how the defense will keep this team in games, even when the offense isn't clicking. I think we kind of saw, I think we saw a little bit of that today. The offense wasn't clicking, but the offensive line looked pretty good. I truly felt sorry for Connor, for
Cole Hudson. Yeah.
Cole Hudson. Thank you. I really felt sorry for the kid. He just got back from injury, and he goes out, and he doesn't look bad. I mean, hopefully we'll get an update today. I'm not a doctor. I don't want to diagnose him, but it didn't look good. It didn't look promising for a quick return. DJ Campbell, I thought, had some really good moments. He had some. There was at least one series that I was sitting there watching him, focusing in on him, and he was physically getting pushed back 2 or 3 plays in a row. And I said in Slack on the Orangebloods Slack channel to the rest of the staff, I was like, "Ooh, DJ Campbell's not looking good." And the very next play, he blows an assignment, and it leads to a sack of Quinn Ewers. I mean, his pass game, he still has a lot of work to do. He still has communication issues. He still needs to learn. That's to be expected. He's a redshirt freshman. That's to be expected. But there were a lot of flashes too, like that Bama game where he was putting guys on their back in the run game. He's still doing that in the run game. He still looks good in the run game. So I don't want to overreact. I don't want to act like this is, the sky is falling. But like I said, we're a quarter of the way through the season right now, and two out of the 3 games led to more questions than answers. So even this morning's show, it feels like the mood is just kind of depressed, not sad depressed, just muted, just like, okay. Last Monday, we were all hyped and full of energy, and today it's like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, that kind of reflects the team, right? I mean, maybe, they talked about all week about how there's going to be no letdown. There's going to be no letdown. I mean, at some point, maybe you just can't help it. Like, it's just natural, for the body, for the mind, not to be as engaged. So I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, you're still dealing with a bunch of younger guys, so it can be tough. I mean, what do you think, Nash? Do you think, I mean, yeah, I mean, what are your overall thoughts? I mean, you think the mood should be
I
a
mean,
little happier?
I'm not really depressed or anything. It's just like
Yeah,
there's not much for me to say. I don't want to beat a horse dead. We already talked about half the stuff like a million times. I don't know. Like it's just like there's the team, they could have played better. They got to win at the end of the day. Like you said, the defense, they're going to carry us. I mean, there are things that need to be fixed, right? But I mean, I'm not going to sit here and overreact. Like I don't know. I'm like
yeah.
I try to avoid overreacting as much as possible. So
That's fair.
there's no depression or like somber attitude for me. It's just
No, not somber. I'm just saying, or depressed. I'm just saying the feeling is a little muted. It seems like nobody's really.
yeah. I mean, that's intentional. It's because
Jonathan Montgomery in the Spec chat line is blaming it on Sark and his play calling. I will say, Sark said after the game, some of the play calling is on him. So that he could have done better as a play caller. He certainly talked about how Wyoming came out in a 3-3-5 defense, which they have not put on tape before. They haven't shown that. A lot of chatter online about 3-3-5 being the Sark kryptonite. I don't know that I'd buy that. I mean, it's not like we haven't seen this before. Iowa State runs this defense. I mean, it's been around forever. Rocky Long is one of the great progenitors of that defense. I mean, this defense has been around forever. I think Sark knows how to handle it. One way you do handle it, and look, 3-5 is meant to entice people to run the ball, and then safeties and linebackers come up. But one of the stars of the game for Texas, they did run the ball, and they ran the ball very well. Jonathan Brooks, 21 carries, 164 yards, that's 7.8 per carry. Had that long 61-yard run, which, you were just kind of cheering. Dude runs 61 yards. You want him to get into the end zone and score. So you were really hoping he won. He got taken down just shy of the goal line. But even without that 61-yard run, he still cracks 100. He still has a very good average of over 5 yards per carry. Jonathan Brooks in this offensive line, in the run game, looked great. Is there anything that, Danny Juarez checking in on the Specs chat line, Baxter is the future, but Brooks is the current beast. How do you not agree with that?
Yeah, I think, I mean, it's got to be mostly Brooks right now just because of the status of Baxter. From what I've seen, I still feel like, Baxter is a guy probably with like a little more natural talent, maybe the vision, but man, Brooks runs so hard. He just runs so hard and he falls forward and he doesn't hesitate. Like Baxter is more of the patient runner. Brooks just hits the hole and goes.
He's explosive through the hole.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really disagree with that. I think Brooks is the guy that has the better vision and really shows the patience. There was one run that specifically speaks to that. Like he literally he was floating behind the offensive line and then he was just waiting for a hole to open up. And I think the thing that speaks to what I'm saying here about the vision is you go and look at the rushes over 5 yards. Baxter only has 3 he has more negative rushes than he does rushes over 5 yards.
Yep.
And that's 3 of 16 on the year. Jonathan Brooks, if you remove even if you get rid of the Wyoming game, you want to say, hey, Wyoming, he was a lead back, he got it all to his own, all that stuff. So remove that. He's still 10 for 26 on the year. So he's doing better on his rushes. Like at a 40% rate, he's getting over 5 yards. I do agree that he doesn't have the top level talent that Baxter does. But man, people got to stop. They got to look once a recruit is on campus, forget about the star rating. Like literally throw it out the window. Yeah, you can like all that is projection to see how the dude is going to do in the NFL draft or if he's going to make it to the NFL roster one day. That's literally all the star rating is. And if Jonathan Brooks was a 5-star, there would be nobody would be questioning him being the lead back right now. It wouldn't even be a question. But
it's not like he was top-livered. He's still a 4-star.
Jonathan Brooks, without people sitting there saying and going, "Oh well, no, you're just hating on Baxter." I hadn't said a negative thing about Baxter.
It's not like it's
I
not
don't
like
think we said
Brooks is
anything
not
negative
good.
about
No,
Brooks.
no, but I'm just saying, like, people will like act. I was just saying, I think that Jonathan Brooks has the better vision,
Yeah.
and he's the
No,
more
that's fair.
patient runner.
Yeah.
That was all I was pushing back on.
No, I got you, but I mean, anyone who's downplaying Brooks from a recruiting standpoint, dude was a 5.84 star, number 43 in the state. I mean, look, this he had his plenty of, he came in with plenty of hype. By the way, I'm sorry, this is just kind of funny. Our team is like a 5-star chef that can cook steak, but not hamburger helper. I do love both steak and hamburger helper. I'm not going to lie.
No, I mean for this year, Nash. I mean, I'm with you. Like I think I mean Texas right now they're focused on making the playoffs. Like you're not worrying about development too much. I mean, so I think Brooks should be the guy right now. He's earned it. I do wonder if Baxter were healthy, which being healthy is probably the most important part of like winning a running back job. If Baxter were healthy, I think we would probably be seeing similar numbers from a larger sample size. I know you've got the data and it says Brooks has been good. So I think he should be the guy right now. I mean, he's doing what he has to do while Baxter's down. I do think it's still notable that Baxter was the guy that the coaches seemed to like more coming into the season. But since the games have started, I mean, Baxter's been banged up and Brooks has done pretty much everything you can ask for, maybe outside of the receiving game. So, I mean, yeah, I think it was a good day overall for the running game. The line of scrimmage was still pretty even, but we know Wyoming had a good run defense coming in. So, the fact that they were able to close the game running the ball in the fourth quarter, that was a pretty positive sign.
To me, the jury's still out on Cedric Baxter, and what I mean by that is like he's a freshman. I think he's clearly the answer when you're talking about short yardage and goal line work. But I think the lacking experience is something. I think that's something that's going to really pay dividends for him, and you're going to see him get a lot better. And honestly, I mean, it's like the saying goes, the best ability is availability.
Yeah, no, it's huge. And I mean, I think I don't know, it's tough, but like, they want to get Baxter some experience for the future, but I mean, this year is no longer the year to do that. You just got to play the best guy right now.
I just don't think that what we're seeing from Jonathan Brooks is actually like, I don't think people understand like it's actually really special. It's just when you go down to the per yardage basis, I understand that a good amount of these rushes are versus Rice and Wyoming. So we need to see it carry on through the year. But to be honest, you're not going to people are going to be able to sit there and point up until we get to Oklahoma and say, well, what good defense have you played that is going to like really push back against Jonathan Brooks? But like they have like breakaway yardage, 10 plus yards, run. Like he's doing all this. He was already doing all that stuff when he was backing up Bijan Robinson and coming in. Like this is my big thing with Jonathan Brooks was saying, hey, coming in the season, a lot of this stuff, it's a perfectly fair criticism to say, hey, all this stuff is in garbage time. Who cares about it? Well, he's doing all that stuff at the same level, but throughout the regular like non-garbage time games this year. And I think that this is something that really, if we allow him to be the lead back and fullback and get fullback duties, this could be a pretty special season for Jonathan Brooks.
Garbage time. Where was the garbage time in this game? It was 10-10 going into the first quarter.
I wasn't talking about this year. I was talking about last year.
All right. I'm just saying this. He's
doing it. No, that's why I just said.
I'm agreeing with you.
That's literally what I just said.
I know. I'm agreeing with you. He's doing it at all points. Anyone who dismisses it as garbage time isn't paying attention.
No, people had pushed back on the garbage time from last. I was saying people were pushing back from the stats last year.
I got you. Yeah. No, he looked good. You're right. He looked good last year. Sorry, I was taking care of something else. He looked good last year. He's looked good this year. Anyone who's not paid attention is missing out on Jonathan Brooks. And I feel like I feel bad for Ced Baxter. You know, he came in, he fought hard. He won the starting job coming out of camp, but this feels like he's about to lose this job. I think Sark is about to pick his workhorse, and it's going to be Jonathan Brooks. He's off to a great start. Hey, we talked about every year, you know, that Sark prides himself on finding that 100-yard back. I mean, that 1,000-yard back every year. Well, a quarter of the way through, he's up to 273. That's on pace to hit that 1,000-yard mark. If you extrapolate it over 12 games, 13 if you're in the Big 12 championship game, 14 if you make a bowl game or the playoffs. I think he's going to hit it. I think Brooks is looking like the guy who's going to be the 1,000-yard back. Now, the passing game, it wasn't not just that it wasn't there. And look, I know a lot of you are going to say it was drops. There were 3 drops in the game. And that doesn't account for the fact that Quinn was 11 for 21. Even if he picks those 3 drops, he's only 14 of 21. I mean, and a 6.2 yard per attempt average. They were not throwing the ball deep. They were doing short dinks and dunks. Yes, there could have been those 3 catches, but not all of them. Not every drop is just so easily explained. Jeff Ketchum did a very good job of breaking down the drops on Orangebloods.com, which, if in his 10 thoughts for a weekend, which is a fantastic read. If you're not a member, I do suggest you sign up and go check it out. This wasn't just a matter of drops. This was a matter of they weren't taking their shots and they looked out of sync when they were in general. I mean, it took Quinn at least a half to kind of find his rhythm to finally start clicking. And when he did, the offense moved. We've said all year, this team goes as far as Quinn Ewers takes them. He's still the key to this team. But Saturday, it's funny. It wasn't until he and Jalen Ford started chewing out the team going into the fourth quarter, saying you got to get off the schneid and let's get going. That's when they finally got going. But why weren't they ready? At the start, they had that players only meeting this week, which I hate players only meetings. They're never, I think that players only meeting goes to show that where this team's mindset was coming in. They were sluggish. They were sluggish because they weren't ready. That's the only thing I can assume. I don't think Sark was ready. I don't think the team was ready. They weren't in the right frame of mind. And it's somewhat understandable, but they were sluggish and the passing game looked bad. I mean, what did you guys see out of Quinn?
Yeah, I mean, he missed a few throws, that's for sure. I mean, he had a couple that if he would have hit the day would have looked better. I was there at the game, so I could see everything. I could see the all 22, and then I went back and watched it on Nash's Texas clips. Gotta watch those every single time for sure. I don't know. I thought Wyoming's defense, I think they kind of just won the battle of play callers. I think Wyoming came in with a good game plan. They executed it. They were taking away the deep shot. They were going to force Texas to run the ball. They were going to force Texas to execute and drive down the field. Texas was able to do that a few times, especially in the fourth quarter. And then Worthy was able to finally hit the explosive play. But we were talking about in the chat a little bit. There's some games where Sark goes out and he'll just completely, blow the doors off the defense that he's going against, where he's got schemes left and right, setting up plays. And I think, he mentioned it after the game, the defense threw a look at him. Maybe they weren't completely expecting him. I thought Wyoming's game plan was really solid. Texas maybe didn't see it coming. And I think Wyoming won the play call battle most of the time. And then on top of that, Quinn missed a couple throws. There were a couple drops. So you add all that together and you get a 10-10 game going into the fourth. But then, they were able to execute in the fourth and make some adjustments. So I have a lot of respect for Wyoming coming out of this game. And then it was good to see Texas execute in the fourth because, there's been a lot of Texas teams in the past that this game would have been 10-10 going into the fourth. And then it would have been 13-13 with, 4 minutes left. And that wasn't the case on Saturday.
Something that really stood out to me was, we didn't take the deep shots, but if you look at the average depth of target, it was actually more than out versus Alabama. And really that speaks to, there wasn't a lot of behind the line of scrimmage stuff. With versus Alabama, you saw a lot of short game, a lot of behind the line of scrimmage game. And really that's where you see the manipulation of motion and all that stuff. And that's where a lot of the scheme comes out. This was a very similar, as far as target wise and depth wise, it was very similar to the Rice game. Now, one thing that the irony doesn't get lost on me is when Texas, when we go play Rice, stop throwing the deep ball. You're throwing the deep ball too much. And then we play Wyoming. Well, what happened to the deep? Why don't we throw the deep ball? It's like
I know.
You're never going to please people.
I know.
No, absolutely. And, part of that, you talk about the game plan, like against Bama, by the way. The Sark knew he wasn't going to be able to run the ball as well against Bama, so he was using those behind the line of scrimmage passes and the quick outs and everything as a sort of running game to try and suck in the defenders and open up the deep ball. That wasn't, again, a 3-3-5 defense. You're going to see a lot of bodies in the secondary, and I think whether it was play calling or Quinn, all right, I'm not going to harp on it too much, but I will say this. I'm going to finish on a positive for Quinn. 0 turnovers. He took care of the ball. This is one of those things that, look, if he throws an interception, he forces it and gets an interception, that could lead to a short field and an easy Wyoming touchdown. This could be a very different game. 10-10 in the fourth quarter is one thing. Down 17-10 or 20-10 in the fourth quarter is a whole different beast. He took care of the ball, which is a big deal in a tight game like that. So kudos to Quinn. He doesn't have an interception yet on the season, right? We still 0 picks on the season through 3 games. I think that goes to show the maturation of his knowledge in the college football game. He's understanding defenses better than he did last year. He's understanding this offense better than he did last year. He has shown improvements, even if you want to point to a game where he's like Saturday, where he's 11-21 and say, he's not there yet. Okay, fine. He's not there yet, but that doesn't mean there hasn't been progress. And the fact that he is able to go out and play a clean game and keep Texas in the game is a big step. He was a game manager Saturday. He didn't win the game for Texas. All right. That was not a Heisman Trophy capable winning game. But it was a good game in that he got Texas out of there with a W, and he did it by playing sharp, clean football. That, to me, is a positive that we can take away from Saturday and say, okay, like Nash said, and he's accurate, there's some things to clean up, but this team isn't broken. This offense isn't broken, and that was a big, big positive coming out of Saturday. It was a clean football game from a turnover perspective. The only turnover for Texas was the Jaden Blue fumble, and
yep.
You hate to see that. I hate to see that for Jaden Blue too, but it was there was a lot of good to take away from that game. Which, when we come back, the big question I want to answer is I want to talk to you guys about, and this is not just a Texas question. This is a college football big picture question. Is Texas, do they pass the eyeball test as a college football playoff team? Is this a team that we're going to see playing in the college football playoffs or capable of playing? Do they pass the eyeball test? We'll answer that when we get back. But first, guys, if you were watching this game on Saturday and you were frustrated heading into the fourth quarter and you felt like you needed one to take the edge off, hopefully you visited Specs and you had one available. If not, I feel for those around you, because that could have been a very frustrating, angst-ridden game for a lot of you. Specs has got everything you need for game day and just during the week. They've got great wine. They've got great spirits, beer, fine foods, whatever you need, Specs has got it. It's a Texas born and bred company, locations throughout the state, or just hit up Specs online if you don't want to go anywhere. Specs is a fantastic company, and you do not want to go into next week without being stocked up. So check out Specs.
No matter what you're needing, Specs same-day delivery can save the day with our Specs app or online shopping. From world-class wines to hard-to-find spirits and craft beers to gourmet foods, delicious snacks, and spectacular sweets. It's Specs. Cheers to savings.
All right, welcome back. So, real quick before we move on, I did want to mention that Elite Sports Memorabilia has offered a Malik Murphy jersey to anyone who predicted the score last week.
Some
Nobody
close
got it.
calls. There were some close calls. I mean, we had the final score was 31-10. We had multiple 41-10s, which if you're going to guess your score, make sure you don't guess the same as someone else. I believe there was a 34-10. Maybe there was a 37-10 or something. There were some close calls, but the Malik Murphy jersey lives to see another day.
It lives to see another day. So Malik was in the house yesterday signing. Jordan Whittington joined him. So Elite Sports Memorabilia has a lot of awesome Malik Murphy gear available for you. They've got a lot of new Jordan Whittington gear available for you. That include that's on top of the inventory they already had from the athletes who are working with them as it is, including the offensive star of the show, Jonathan Brooks, JT Sanders, who was held without a catch. That's a shame. That shouldn't happen. But JT Sanders has got gear available for you. Scan the QR code there. Elite Sports Memorabilia takes you to the Facebook page. You can see everything they have available. They've got auctions going on every day that you can jump in and try and get someone. We told you last week about the Quinn Ewers autographed mini helmet auction. That the bidding was fast and furious on that, and it ended up going out to one lucky fan got it. There will be more auctions up for grabs today, but the big news, new Malik Murphy gear, new Jordan Whittington gear, orange jerseys, white jerseys, helmets, full-size minis. They even have those really cool matte black helmets, which you will never see Texas wear on the field, but they still look cool. All autographed, all ready to be sent to your house. You buy it, it comes directly to you. It is a fantastic way to make your space look as cool as Nash's. I mean, I know Nash is going to be hitting up for some new memorabilia pretty soon. Christmas is right around the corner too, by the way. I know it's only, mid-September, but you can't get your shopping done early enough. And we're just, buy some for yourself. Scan that QR code. Elite Sports Memorabilia takes care of the players, which is awesome. They take care of us, and they're taking care of you with some very cool items that you can get for you or your loved ones. It's a great way to get started. Specs chat line, I asked the question, is, Texas a playoff-worthy team? Do they look good? And the Specs chat line has got a lot of these, and they're 100%. 3-0, baby. Texas currently number 3 in the country. A lot to be happy about. Rice and Wyoming, a little perspective here from McCard. Rice and Wyoming are undefeated when playing Big 12 teams. If you take away the Texas game, that's right. Rice is now, except for Texas, they're undefeated, period. Wyoming is going to be competing for the Mountain West Conference Championship. Yeah, I don't know if they're going to win it, but they're going to be competing they're going to be one of the better teams in that conference. So those are definitely some good perspectives to keep in mind, and will play out as the season plays out. Oscar Lopez, we've been a well-coached team on a day where we played a C- game. That's what good teams do. They're not going to come with it every single week. They're gonna have off weeks, and the important thing is to win. And they didn't just win; they won by 3 touchdowns. Was it the 30-point spread? No, but a 3-touchdown win is still a pretty significant win. Mike Welch, a win is a win. First time since 2014 we've had 3 double-digit wins in a row. And, of course, first time since 2012, Texas is 3-0, period. So there is a lot to be happy about if you're a Texas fan. There's a lot to point to say this is a damn good team. Defense, one of the best in the country, if not the best in the country. They are playing at that level. The offense, when it clicks, can hang right there with anyone. The ESPN has got the S&P, the Bill Connolly S&P rankings. Texas's offense is 15th in the country right now in the S&P rankings, 9th in defense. That's when you combine both of those together, that means you're going to be one of the best teams in the country. The statistics bear it out. But does it pass the eyeball test? Nash, when you watch this team, do you see a team that you say, yeah, They're going to be in the playoffs. They are one of the 4 best teams in the country, and they deserve to be in the playoffs. Did they pass your eyeball test?
I mean, this is like kind of a hard question to answer because one, this year's so wide open with the amount of teams aren't looking good. Like Florida State looked terrible versus a bad Boston College team. Alabama looked bad. Alabama looked bad versus a bad USF team. I mean, not, but at the same time, you can't really. I don't know. You can't cast stones when you live in a glass house. I think that's the same. But like, I'm not calling Wyoming bad, but at the same time, it going into the fourth quarter, 10-10, that's suboptimal. I don't know. Like last year, Georgia, they had a lot of they had like games versus Missouri and Georgia Tech that got really close. They kind of went a lot further than they should have been. But at the same time, Georgia was also out there, just absolutely demolishing teams like Oregon and all that. So I don't think we've seen enough for me to really answer that question fully. But this is certainly a team that can make it to the playoff, and really, I honestly should because to what I just said, there's not really outside of Kansas State, outside of Oklahoma. There's the Big 12 is looking really not as strong as we thought it was.
Kansas State, who lost to Missouri on a last-second field goal in Columbia, a 61-yard field goal. So you got to give Missouri credit, and it was on the road, but Kansas State still didn't come out.
Well, and also give Missouri credit because they've been starting to recruit a little better. Luther is absolutely legit. He's one of the best wide receivers in college football.
Yeah, NIL has definitely helped with recruiting. By the way, real quick, General Text, we did address the mods. So
I was talking about the drops. Come on.
Yeah. We talked about the drops. And by the way, I told you it was only 3 official drops. That didn't kill the Texas offense.
Well, I mean, you could honestly probably bump it up to 5. It depends. Drops can be pretty subjective.
They can, but I don't think that was the real problem. I really don't. I think it was the play calling as much as anything. I'm putting this more on Sark, and he can handle it. Before any of you get upset, don't criticize Sark. Sark can handle it. He knows. He said in the postgame press conference there were plays he wished he had made, play calls he wished he had made different. Aaron, eyeball reaction. Does this team, when you watch them, do you see a college football team yet?
Yeah, I mean, I think I see a 2023-2024 college football playoff team because in order to do that, you've got to be in the top 4 for this year. And I mean, Georgia struggled a little bit with South Carolina at home there for a little bit. Florida State didn't look great. We've still got questions about USC's defense. I think this looks like a playoff team just based on the defense and what we know the offense is capable of when Quinn's locked in and, when Sark is able to win the play calling battle. This is a defensive-led team that can absolutely get there. If you just think about the schedule, a college football playoff team, that doesn't mean they have to go 12-0. I continue to say this team can go 11-1 and win the Big 12 championship game, and that is going to be enough to get in the playoff. I mean, eyeball test, does this look like a 12-0 team? Probably not. Not right now. I mean, yeah, after last week, maybe. After this week, probably not. After what we saw from Alabama, maybe slightly overrated. But, does this look like a 12-0 team? No, but I think this still looks like an 11-1 team considering the defense and considering the schedule. And I think 11-1 with a win in the Big 12 title game gets you in the playoff. And from what I'm seeing from everyone else in the country, Texas looks like a top 4 team to me. They don't look like 2019 LSU, but they look like a top 4 team right now, which is what they need to be.
So go ahead, Nash.
I was just going to add in that, if there's one thing that you can actually point to that really says, hey, you know what, this gives me a lot of faith that this team can make it to the playoff, is like Aaron said, we're allowed 1 loss. They're there's a channel Uncle Lou that I really love following that he says this. He's like he does a your season over video series, and he's like, it's a metaphorical thing, and it's not being literal saying your season is over after 1 loss, but You're allowed 1 loss. Most teams are allowed 1 single loss in the season, and once you go through that 1 loss, Your backs are against the wall, and you're playing not to. You cannot lose from that point forward, and we're going to be afforded one loss, whether that's in the regular season or conference championship, wherever it is. As long as we only have one loss from here to when they determine the playoff teams, Texas should be fine, and by all means should be in the playoff. But if there's one thing that I think says that we can't, or shown that we can get there, is this team responds.
Yep.
It doesn't matter what it is. Like, I mean, it wasn't just that very big. It was multiple runs early on that the Wyoming team they were chucking 4, 5, 6 yards a rush. And for the Texas team, if you remove that 61-yard run, but you still even look at those 4, 5, 6-yard chunks that they were taking at the beginning of the game, we still held them to 2.5 yards per rush throughout the day. So it was. And like Jaron Thompson is like one of the best examples from this last game. There were multiple times where you're like, we need more from that, you know? But then there were also multiple times where he goes out there and he has just really cerebral play and he just makes up for it immediately. David Benda makes up for it immediately. Yeah, you know, that's one thing that you've seen with this team is like in Alabama, they score. The Texas team goes and scores. They respond.
And I don't know if we've said it, by the way, but Jahdae Barron was an absolute stud on Saturday.
Player of the game. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'll say this. I don't know how you can call him a breakout player because
no, he's not a breakout player.
I'll say this right now. This should be expected. If you weren't expecting this from John, and that's where I don't know. It was just like a little pet peeve of mine when I saw
the wide receivers could not block him. They had no chance trying to block him. Like anytime anyone was in his area, he was on the ball immediately. Like there was no one getting
plays on tape that NFL scouts are going to be pulling up when he's getting drafted. And if you watch, by the way, Jim Nagy's interview on Football with Friends with Alex Dunlap, you heard him say, the director of the Reese's Scout, the Senior Bowl, who's longtime NFL scout, still stays in, he directs the Senior Bowl. He picks the players. He is one of the biggest names in NFL scouting. He said this is the best nickelback in college football. Jahdae Barron is an absolute stud. He made a lot of plays. He was easily the star of the game. He wasn't thinking about Bama on Saturday. There was no hangover from Jahdae Barron. But, listen, guys, I said all along coming into the preseason that Texas would beat Alabama but have one crap game where they lost one game and finished 11-1. Saturday kind of, believe it or not, Saturday with the Wyoming game is making me rethink that. And you talk about you can afford one loss. I don't think Texas can afford one loss. And here's why.
I think a lot of stuff would have to go wrong. As far as outcomes around the country.
I'm not talking about necessarily I'm not necessarily talking about the college football playoff. I'm saying this team can't afford one loss because there's not another team left on the schedule that they should lose to. And Saturday's got me rethinking in a positive way that 12-0 should be the standard because of the remaining schedule and because of the fact that this was a kind of crap game in the making. This was a kind of trap game where you're coming off a big Alabama win and you're about to start conference play. And they played like they would end up, listen, Texas last year, Texas the year before, odds are high they would have lost that game. But they didn't. They won by 3 touchdowns. And now I'm starting to think maybe they've got the fortitude in them that even when they don't bring it on a day like Saturday, they still have enough in them to go out and just out-muscle. And I'm beginning to think 12-0 is the standard that we should be holding them to. I think it's kind of counterintuitive to see a team come off a quote-unquote bad win where you win by 3 touchdowns and turn around and say, all right, now I'm kind of sold. But I'm a little bit more sold on them now than I was coming out of Alabama because they did win by 3 touchdowns. They didn't have it. The passing game wasn't there, and they still went out and did it when they needed to. So that to me is a sign of a college football playoff team. When you win, when you're down, when you win big, when you're down, that's the sign of a good team. You do what you're supposed to do, even when you don't have it clicking.
Yeah, I agree. I think the next step now is I mean, we're always looking for, things to improve and things to nitpick, I guess. But can they win a C plus, C minus game on the road now? Because all the questions on them before the season were, can they win on the road, all this stuff. And they answered that at Alabama, but they played an A minus game in Alabama. Like they played really, really good football, no pre-snap penalties, executing deep shots. The game plan was awesome. Now it's, they're going to find themselves, if they play like they did against Wyoming or Rice on the road, can they rally late on the road without the help of the home crowd? Maybe that'll be one of the next questions that gets answered. But, everything you can see from this team mentally is that they probably will be able to do that, and they should be able to do that. And, I think it all goes back to the defense. That's one of the nice things about having such an elite defense, man. You're going to be in every single game to where it just takes a couple plays. So if you've got elite defense and then you are winning the turnover battle like Texas is consistently doing, it's hard to lose games when you add on top of that you have more talent. It's just a good combination right now they have going.
Yeah. By the way, Nash talked about it, but when you look at the college football big picture, and you have to if you're talking college football playoff, it was not a pretty weekend for anyone, right? I mean, Georgia messed around and they pull off the win. A lot like Texas, they pull off the win in the fourth quarter against an overmatched South Carolina team. Florida State, I have a good friend who's an FSU grad who texted me, Florida State's about to lose to Boston College. And then he was like, oh, never mind. Florida State pulled off the last-minute win in Boston College. I mean, look.
Well, and while Boston College was committed just about every penalty under the sun.
Exactly. And they're 1-2 on the season. I mean, this is not a Boston College team that is even going to sniff mid-tier in the ACC, much less top of the table. Washington looked pretty darn good, but there were a lot of teams struggling. Alabama, I understand the people complaining, oh, Alabama barely squeaked out against USF. I agree. I've told you guys, I'm on record saying I'm not sold on Alabama. I think they're a 3 or 4 loss team. I still maintain that after I think they've got at least 2 more losses in them, but I could be wrong. Maybe they're going to get on a roll and go to the win the SEC West. I don't know. They've got a tough test coming up against Ole Miss. OU looked okay, but I'm not sold on OU. Colorado, by the way, Colorado struggled. Big struggle bus against, need double overtime to beat Colorado State. Now that's a rivalry game, so you got to give that. But when you look at like what Washington State did to Colorado State in week 1, 50-24, Washington State destroyed them. People are sleeping on how strong the Pac-12 is. My point is, it was a struggle bus weekend. There were a lot of teams that could have and maybe should have lost or had to come in late. Texas was one of those. And you could say, all right, Texas struggled. They still won by 3 touchdowns. That's the mark of a good team. They won by 3 touchdowns after struggling. So do they pass the eyeball test for me yet of being a college football playoff team? Not yet. I still worry about them, but I do think they are a college football playoff team. And I'm beginning to think 12-0 is more likely than 11-1. Even though we're just now getting into conference play, even though there would be some tough road games, I think the schedule sets up nicely. Look, Baylor's coming up next. Talk about teams struggling at quarterback. Baylor is a team in dire need of help, and we will do our scouting report on Baylor on Wednesday. We've got a good interview lined up with the Locked On Baylor podcast hosts, so that's coming up. Kansas is looking scary now that they've got Jalen Daniels back. He's looked good through the first 2 weeks, but that's at home. OU, not sold on. Houston, they're not going to be one of the top teams. Plus, it's on the road, but does Houston scare you guys?
No.
All right. BYU's at home. Kansas State is at home. TCU has had early season struggles. Iowa State is a train wreck right now. And then finishing off with Texas Tech. That's a pretty favorable schedule. Where's the loss going to come from?
Well, What took y'all so long to get on board? I've been trying.
I was 11-1. Let's not act like I was.
I spent months trying. I spent months saying all this shit. I didn't say it, but I spent
All
months
right.
saying all this stuff, and everybody's sitting there. Oh, you're just drinking the Kool-Aid. Now I'm honestly probably more critical than some of these people. Let me reread the schedule, okay? Because you missed some of the home games, okay? Baylor home game, Kansas home game,
Baylor's on the road.
Houston home game,
Baylor's on
TCU
the
home
road.
game. Yeah, yes, that's going to be a home game in Waco, home game in Houston. The tickets are cheap. I've literally been pounding this drum for months now that Texas leaves the state twice, and the rest of the games are all home games for us, whether it's in our stadium or a home game away. But
I got you.
It's just like the hype that Texas has right now. Like we had there, people need to realize this is actually like insane when you think about this stuff. There are literally young adults that have never seen Texas 3-0 before.
Sure.
This is the first time, and Texas was 3-0 when they were 1 or 2 years old.
11-year-old who's you would be 11 years old if you've never seen Texas.
2012 was the last time we went 3-0.
Right.
Yeah. So
it's 2023, so that's 11, right?
Yeah, but I'm saying there's adults that the last waking memory that they have. I was talking to a call-in guy show, a guy on the call-in show, and he's 18. And he was sitting there saying, the 2009 season or 2010 season was his first memory of Texas football. Like that's his first, because you don't remember stuff before you're 5 years old.
Yeah.
But so adults, they're literally, if you're an adult, the only memory you have of Texas 3-0 is now.
Yeah. No, I'm not that young, but I don't have many good Texas football memories. So this is definitely an exciting year. But I think the schedule is what it is. I think people were excited about the schedule, or optimistic about the schedule before the season started, and it's only looking easier right now. Maybe with the exception of I think OU is a little better than I expected them to be, but I still think that should be a Sark game to where Sark can just come out and probably win that game for them. So, schedule is what it is. It's looking pretty good. Nash, you had another reaction in the middle of the rant with the other teams in the country. Did you have something that you needed to get off your chest there, or was that it?
Oh no, that was just it. That was just
okay. I thought you had another reaction.
It was just he was sitting there saying the away game at Baylor, and I was just like, I have to get.
Okay, I thought you had something before that when he was going through the rest of the team.
No, he was trying to say there's going to be more Texas fans there.
The 12-0 stuff. Yeah, I've been saying this all. Hey, this is my year for predictions, man.
We do need to give a shout out. We don't have the updates in the hopper yet, but Nash 10-2 against the spread. You need to drop this YouTube stuff and move to Las Vegas, man. It is.
Yeah, no, bro.
Holy crap.
Hey, there's money to be made here. Okay, screw what I said the first week. This is financial advice, okay, people?
Yeah, tail Nash. Put your house on it. Don't listen to Occupy Left Field, by the way. He lost his house betting on the Cubs against the mighty Arizona Diamondbacks, but that's besides the point. That's a different show. But yeah, Nash, holy crap, that was pretty good stuff.
He may not have lost his house, but he lost his car. I don't know if it's on Twitter this week.
I'll be honest, Aaron. I early on, I was like, hey, I kind of feel like I'm having a pretty good day here, and I was like, I got to start doing green just to see what's green and red to see what I was like. Wait a second. Oh, whoa. that was a good day.
No, I had the same thought, but
it's not just winning losses. It's against the spread, bro.
Yes. No, this is against the spread, which makes it super impressive. I had the same thought. I was watching all these games, and I was like, I don't think I have one correct pick yet. I was like, I was wrong on this game. I was wrong. And then I started thinking, I was like, I feel like I was opposite of the rest of the guys on all the picks. So they must be having a pretty good day. And sure enough, I pull up the sheet. And I'm like, all right, loss, and Nash is win. I was like, man, at least someone knows ball on this show.
Good job, buddy.
I wish we had betting, man.
You know damn well I don't. No. I'm happy to. I'll do the picks, but I'm not going to bet on it. Hell no. Larry Trevino checking in. OU, BYU, TCU, and Tech. We can't let up on he's worried about all of these games and can't let up on Baylor away. I am not in the least bit worried about Baylor. Maybe I'm overlooking Baylor. first off, coming off this Wyoming game, you don't think these boys are going to be working hard this week, that they're going to be refocused going into conference play? I guarantee you they are. Secondly, this is not a good Baylor team. It's not just that they lost to Texas State. They are not a good Baylor team. They don't have a quarterback. Their quarterback has been injured. Even when Blake Shapen is in the game, he still sucks. So, no, I'm not worried about Baylor. Baylor's going to be a win. And Nash is right. There's going to be a lot of Longhorn fans in the stadium in Waco. That's going to be, I think it's going to be a long day for the Bears. And just we'll do our predictions later. And clearly my track record is not great with predictions. But to wrap this up, to wrap up the big question, does Texas pass the eyeball test as a college football playoff team? I've revised my prediction from being a very dour 11-1. So again, let's not act like I wasn't on board or drinking.
No. I'm mainly talking to the people that were sitting there thinking that 10-2 was like would be a possibility. Like they're talking 10-2 might be a possibility. What are you talking about? 10-2 should have been what we had last year.
Exactly. So I've actually revised my prediction from 11-1 to 12-0 because of the Wyoming game. Did they look great? Nope. No, they didn't. They didn't look great. There's a lot left that needs to be fixed. Did they win by 3 touchdowns? Damn Skippy. And frankly, if it had been a 21-point spread instead of a 29-point spread or 30-point spread, people would be sitting here people would be talking about how this was a very good victory. Well, okay. It was a very good victory. There's things that need to be fixed, but I don't see Texas losing again. I don't see other teams stepping up. Alabama, like we said, struggled. They're out of the top 10 for the first time since 2015. And really, guys, is the Oregon State being better than Alabama prediction really all that crazy right now? You may still not believe it. I know Nash doesn't. But is it crazy to say Oregon State is better than Alabama?
Okay, hold on. No. We're not going to, because did you watch the game? That's what I have to.
I
did. Watch the game, or did you box score scout? Because if
I watched the game. I was sitting
so if you watched the game, you know that San Diego State was 10 yards and 2 missed field goals from being a 24-26 game. So it DJ. I'm not even trying to.
I stand by my DJU takes.
DJ, he was sub 50%. And he said, you know what? He watched the OB live. He said, you know what? I need to prove to everybody why Aaron and Justin were sitting there saying, why would the MLB take a 20th round draft pick on this guy? What, he's got to justify it somehow.
First off, DJ Uiagalelei had a bad week. There's no doubt about it. But first, let's not act like San Diego State's a bad team. They're a pretty good team.
Oregon State was favored by 24.5 points. Travis, you're favored by 24.5 points.
I agree. But I'm telling you, who's better, USF or San Diego State?
I don't know.
I don't know. All I can tell you is that from the guy who had a lot of good predictions last week. If Oregon State and Alabama played, I'd pick Alabama 10 times out of 10.
I would take you on that. And I'm just telling you,
I don't feel bad taking
Alabama is a 3 or 4 loss team. It's happening.
I said that after the game. I agree.
I don't know how anyone watched Alabama and came away from that game saying, "Ooh, they're a good football team."
I don't think anybody did. I think if anything, that when I watched versus Alabama, I was like, wow, that just really shows how good Jalen Milroe was, because it shows how much offensive output he was responsible for. And he did that versus
this elite
Texas defense that we're talking about too.
I think Milroe would have done better because he could escape the pocket. But
I think Alabama. We're going to know a lot more about Alabama next week. I think Saban looked at this like, hey,
and Oregon State.
Yeah. I think Saban looked at that game and said, all right, Alabama, we're 32-point favorites. We had this QB competition all year long. I'm going to throw Buckner in there because this is the last time this year we're going to be favored by 32 points. Let's see what he looks like. It was pouring rain. The game was weird. He didn't look good. And he wanted to find out maybe who his quarterback of the future was. Now they're going to go back to Milroe. We're going to learn a lot more about them this week against Ole Miss. I mean,
It's
the
going to be a
SEC
big
stuff
game
is
against
weird
Ole
in
Miss.
general. The
It
SEC stuff is
absolutely
weird
is.
in general because I thought Tennessee might potentially be like somewhat of a real deal. They looked bad against Florida. LSU looks good again. Maybe LSU, it was just like a bad game against Florida State and they
That
actually
was
are
week
legit.
one.
I don't know.
That was week one. Week one on the road. I know it was a neutral game, but it was in Orlando against Florida State. That was a very pro FSU crowd.
I'm excited for SEC Tuesday tomorrow. I think it's going to be good. Yeah.
There you go. All right. We do have SEC Tuesday coming up tomorrow. Chris Gordy from the Locked On SEC podcast and the Sports Talk 790 in Houston, home of Texas Longhorn football on the radio in Houston. Chris Gordy's coming up tomorrow. We're going to react to Sarkisian's Monday presser. He's coming up today. We'll find out the latest on the injury status with certain players, including Cole Hudson and C.J. Baxter and Mo Blackwell. I really was hoping to see Mo Blackwell. Guys, if you've liked this talk, if you think Texas is a college football playoff team, smash that like button. Be sure to hit it. Subscribe to this channel. It really does help us, and we appreciate that. We appreciate you tuning in today, too. A lot of good comments coming in the Specs chat line, and one final push, Elite Sports Memorabilia. We mentioned it. Jordan Whittington was in the house yesterday. Malik Murphy was in the house yesterday signing. They've got a lot of good, awesome new merchandise available for you. All you have to do is scan that QR code. It takes you to their Facebook group page where they've got a lot of awesome new gear. All you have to do is you just buy it. It comes straight to your house. It doesn't get any simpler than that. And it looks awesome. It helps the players out. It helps us out. Elite Sports Memorabilia. It is a really good deal for you. I assure you. Guys, that's it for this week. We have a really good show tomorrow. I hope you join us. Stick around on OB Live today. A full day of Longhorn talk coming up with Anwar's Old-Fashioned Sports Show, Anwar Richardson's Old-Fashioned Sports Show. Anwar Richardson, he of South Florida alumni, by the way. It's his alma mater, so he might have a hot take about that game. We've got the House Divided with Chad Hastings and Jeff Ketchum coming up this afternoon, followed by Football with Friends with Alex Dunlap and the OB Outsiders. They compete against Monday Night Football. It's not a great Monday Night Football game, so we got
two, though. We got two Monday Night Football games.
I know we do. Do either one of them really jazz you that much?
Dude, if you put two NFL teams on the field, I'm there.
All right, real quick, by the way.
But watch the Outsiders. I will also be watching the Outsiders, so you can do it all. Texas
won. Athens Hornets won Friday night. Leeds United soccer team won Sunday morning. 2-0 in fantasy football for me this weekend. It was a hell of a sports weekend for me. The only ding was Navy lost Friday against Memphis, but I don't expect them to win really any game. And the only one I'm going to just live and die on is the Army game. So fantastic sports weekend for me. Fantastic sports weekend for Justin, for Nash, who went 10-2 in the picks. Aaron had a great weekend going to the game. Wow. Did you guys like the light show? I know we're running out of time, but did you like the light show?
I don't know if we have time. I don't know. I thought it was a little underwhelming, but I might be in the minority. But crowd overall very strong.
I did, but Aaron, I don't think you have a vantage point to be able to see the drones behind you.
That is also part of it. I could not see the drones.
Yeah, bro, that was really, really cool. Like that, yeah. Like that was one of the things that got so. Ooh, ah.
Yeah. I think that was part of it though. Like too many people were focused on the drones. Like I thought that just the actual hype wasn't. I don't know. We're out of time, but maybe we can talk about this tomorrow. It was interesting.
Yeah, there we'll get back into it later. Danny, thank you. Have a great day to you too. Have a great day to everyone. Thank you again for joining the show. Hit the like button and subscribe and click that notification so you can join us again tomorrow.